'Cause when it hurts so good, you know you're doing what you should. Hello, lovely listener, and here we are, episode 7. I hope you all enjoyed episode 6. I really did, and it was a really fun experience because at first I thought it was not going to be good, and then by the end it became my favorite. And you know, that's often how life shakes out. We think something will go one way, and then we just have to stick with it, see it through, and then, oh, look how nice that turned out in the end. Maybe it's a metaphor for life. Sure, let's do it. I was debating recording for episode 7 today for a few reasons. One being my voice might not sound as good, might be a little lower and more nasal. My energy levels might be a little more subdued. What's going on, Dr. Mag? What's wrong with you? Oh, well, my friends, I have a little bit of a cold. Though I did just read, oh yeah, my voice is like an octave lower now. This is the following day, and this is the progression of said cold. But I just read today in Dr. David Hawkins' book, Letting Go, that we shouldn't even give sickness, illness, symptoms a name. By giving it a name, you give it a label, you make it a mental concept, and it comes with all of the associated things and ideas, and we can actually generate the energy of it more in our body. So maybe I don't have a cold. I'm having symptoms, and you hear it. You know, if you listen to the last episode, you may have heard me talk about how I went out last weekend. I saw an amazing show in the city. The music group is Polo and Pan, Polo and Pan, Pan. They're these French DJs, and they are just amazing. I think they're doing some of the most interesting things in music right now, at least with electronic music, with cool beats, but also little tribal indigenous sounds with these bells and rhythmic tones. It's really awesome. And then, of course, the French words that they're saying that I really don't know what they're saying, but it sounds great. And what a great example of it's not what you say, but how you say it. Here, we're trying to do both really well. And I hope I do well by all of you today. So with that, we went out to that concert, and I was out really late. And then the next morning, I decided to just go for it and go to this workout class that I love. So I only got about 4 hours of sleep. And, you know, I just kept pushing it. And then I had to go to work, and it was a lot of extra caffeination last week. Plus Rosh Hashanah and the holidays and rushing around to get everywhere, and then drinking all the wine and all of the intensity of the hysterical laughter with my siblings. I don't know, that part felt good. But, and then I was like putting pressure on myself to get out that Rosh Hashanah episode. And like, that's all unnecessary. That's not what we're doing here. We're keeping this real chill. Okay. By the end of the work day on Wednesday, I was like, I'm starting to feel that head pressure and a little soreness in my throat. And oh no. And I really tried to not have the mental thought cascade come in of, well, this is what happens when I start getting sick. And, you know, if we expect that we're going to get sick, it's much more likely that we're going to get sick. And so I tried to think positively about it, but it's tough because there's always that little voice in the back of the head and in the back door. And she was doubting it. She was like, I don't know, you're feeling run down. And listen, this is sometimes where we have limitation of matter. But also, I'm still in my Jedi mind training and working on elevating my frequency to the point where I can knock out symptoms in a moment, in a thought, and a generation of my own energy. And, you know, in this life, I keep getting humbled, so I'm here for it. And I always trust the unfolding. And without a doubt, every time this happens, which is not that often, but when it does happen, it always serves as a reminder for me that I need to slow down. And while I do partake in regular, consistent, healthy practices like my morning green drink and my electrolytes and exercise and eating really well, if I have half a night's sleep one night and then I just keep over caffeinating and overdoing everything, like not just resting, just chilling out, well, my energy got depleted. And that's when we can get sick. I knock down my immune system.
I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down.
That's what my immune system has to say. All right, you're not keeping this thing down. And so, of course, I'm now doing all of the things to take care of myself, like taking it easy. I have nothing on my plate today except talking to you, my friend, and I think that fills up my cup. It's very relaxing. Feels great. I am currently making a very nutrient abundant chicken broth soup. There it is. Chicken bone broth soup. Bone broth is rich in nutrients like collagen, protein, and minerals, and it has anti-inflammatory properties. I'm actually sipping some right now. All the vegetables, the carrots, the celery, the scallions, the onions, the garlic, the dill, they are marinating as we speak, and I am doing oregano oil shots. Oregano oil is known to have antibacterial, antifungal, and antioxidant properties. It has been shown to fight infections, reduce inflammation, support gut health. All I know is when I was in chiropractic school, we had a microbiology lab, and we did this one experiment where in a petri dish, a bunch of different petri dishes full of bacteria, and then on each dish we used a different substance. And the one that we used oregano oil with, it killed all the bacteria. It performed better than bleach or whatever antibacterial agent we used. It kills bacteria, so hopefully just the bad ones. I think it's supposedly more effective if you drop it directly under the tongue, but it is so harsh.
Don't say I didn't warn you.
So I'll usually just put a few drops, 3 to 4, in a little shot of water, throw it back and chase it. And I'll do that several times a day when I start feeling like I'm coming down with something. It might not prevent me from getting the cold or whatever it is. It will shorten the duration and the intensity. So that's my spiel on oregano oil. I am having my usual green drink.
And in case you're wondering, what is your usual green drink, Mac? So every morning before I have my coffee, I have forced myself for about 5 years now to have my quote unquote green drink. And a part of this is I want to get in a daily dose of vitamins and minerals, nutrients, first thing every day. And it's also a way for me to drink a lot of water first thing before I have a bunch of coffee. So some years ago, based on some advice that my older sister Jennifer, and this is the Zen with Jen, who was featured in episode 5, she had recommended that I start taking what she was doing every day, the Amazing Grass greens powder. And quick side note, my sister is 9 years older than me, but you would never guess it if you saw her. You would think we were the same age. She looks amazing. So anything she tells me to do, I'm doing it, just as a part of a daily health routine. And I had stopped taking a bunch of supplements a while back just because I was like, are they really even doing anything? I don't know. I'd rather always have the whole real food based form of something. However, unfortunately, with our modern food supply, a lot of foods don't contain the nutrients they're supposed to because of modern farming practices, strip the soil of the minerals that are supposed to be there. And that's a whole episode unto itself. But with that, we can only do our best. And you know what? Again, mind over matter. And if we believe that what we're taking in is nourishing and giving our body what it needs, then maybe it is. And you know what? Maybe I don't need to be paying triple for the AG1. Okay, so with that, I'm jumping ahead. So for years, I had been taking the Amazing Grass greens powder first thing in the morning before my coffee because for a long time, it was like, wake up, have coffee. And I knew better. I knew that wasn't the best thing for my health. It was just this habit I was locked into. So I thought, okay, maybe if I build in this reward system, first I have my green drink, I get in water first thing, I get in nutrients, then I have my coffee. Oh, what a sweet reward it is. And if I can help it, like when I'm at home, the coffee will always be organic because coffee is one of the most heavily sprayed crops with pesticides. So we want to limit these toxins coming into our body. I also really don't put any sugar in my coffee. I try to limit sugar in general in my diet because sugar feeds disease processes. And that was kind of a rhyme. Cool. So I got into this routine and it worked great. So the particular Amazing Grass product that I personally liked is their Tangerine Immunity Blend. I like the flavor of that one the most, and I like it has an extra 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, and it's all whole real foods. If you look at the ingredients, it's all like grasses and fruits and whatnots. So that one is great. But recently, my sister had gotten the AG1, and I tasted it when I was visiting her, and I was like, oh, I see what all the fuss is about. Because I had heard about AG1 for years, and it's almost triple the price. So I'm like, come on, can it be that much better? But it does taste really, really good and clean. And when I looked at its nutrient label, it did have more in it. It boasts vitamins, minerals, prebiotics, probiotics, greens and superfoods, antioxidants, and digestive enzymes. And for a full ingredient list off, are you ready for this? It's in alphabetical order. Acerola cherries, apple, ashwagandha, B-complex vitamins, beetroot, bilberry, biotin, bromelain, carrot, citrus bioflavonoids, cocoa bean, CoQ10, eleuthero, folate, ginger, grapeseed extract, grasses, inulin, licorice root, I never know how to say it, magnesium, papaya, phospholipids, probiotics, reishi mushroom, rhodiola, shiitake mushroom, spirulina, vitamin A, vitamin B12, vitamin E, vitamin K2, and zinc. Mic drop. Don't do that. That would be an unpleasant sound. Is this a commercial for AG1? No, don't worry. We're not doing commercials yet. But this is a great time to plug my new website page. I'm working on the website. I've been working on the website, and I now have a Products I Love page. So if you go to drmaxgotyourback.com, not only will you find a contact form to get in touch with me, but you will also find a music education page. Oh, yes. So I have teased some songs and jingles that I've written in the past, like the Tech Neck jingle, my What's in That Food song. I also have a chiropractic song. So you can find those songs and their cheesy, funny videos on that page. And then there is a Products I Love page where you can click links to find all these products that I talk about and endorse because I use them myself. The particular one for AG1, you can get a $15 off your first order. And then otherwise it's just Amazon links. And yes, I became an Amazon affiliate because I'm like, let me do this right. So I set it up. And you know what? What a great example of something I had been putting off because it just seemed too big to deal with. And just this morning, I just was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. Like, how hard could it be? And it wasn't that hard. So I'm trying to give you an example of like, just do whatever you're putting off, because once you start to do it, you're going to realize, oh, all right, it wasn't that bad. And then you can feel good about yourself for doing something that felt challenging. All right. AG1, Amazing Grass. Don't say I didn't warn you about the flavors of Amazing Grass, okay? If you go and try another flavor like wild berry, don't be coming at me all mad that you don't like the taste. I'm telling you, the tangerine flavor is my favorite. That's what I like. I haven't really liked any of the other flavors. My sister likes the watermelon. Go nuts if you want to, but I vote for tangerine. Okay, and what else is on that page? Because this is relevant. These are things that I do on the regular and that I'm definitely doing to support my body now that it took a hit. So another product that I love that I have basically every day, if not twice a day, is Kachava. That's with a K, K-A, Chava, Kachava. And that is a protein powder, again with those P's, a protein powder blend. But if you go to their website, they'll say it right there. It's not just protein, it's everything. It is a whole body mix. There's plant proteins, so it's vegan. There are omegas and MCT, medium chain triglycerides. Those are healthy fats, adaptogenic herbs, super mushrooms, digestive enzymes, super greens, vitamins and minerals, probiotics and fiber, super fruits, electrolytes. I mean, it's got a whole complex of things in there, and it's real whole food based, and it's delicious. And so it makes me motivated to have it because I look forward to it. Usually I'll have it in a shake. I'll just blend it with whatever milk one uses. I'll usually go for unsweetened almond milk, and I'll do frozen blueberries, bananas, and if I want it really creamy, I'll put in a little slice of avocado, and so good. Now, the chocolate is my favorite, but recently I did order the strawberry, and it's a new flavor. I wanted to try it. It's pretty good. I also get the vanilla one if I want to make like baked goods, or not even baked, like no bake protein bars I'll do sometimes. I love it. And at night, as a tasty snack, I will take Icelandic skyr, which is like kind of like Greek yogurt, but a little different because it's Icelandic. But it's like a thick yogurt and very high protein. It's got 20 grams of protein in one serving. And I will put in a scoop of the chocolate protein powder in that, mix it all up. It's like chocolate pudding. And then I'll throw in frozen blueberries, and it is a delight. And it's super high protein, super clean. And hey, I'm feeling great, people. Can't you hear it? Listen, this was just because I got run down, but otherwise I have been feeling great. So this is what I've been doing. What else is on that page? Oh yes, I keep mentioning the electrolytes, and I think it's about time that I talk about the electrolytes. So why do we even need electrolytes? All right, we're going to try to be as simple as possible here. In short, we need electrolytes, which is like sodium, potassium, chloride, any kind of molecule that has a positive or negative charge. And every cell in our body needs that to regulate the electric charge and flow of water molecules across the cell membrane. So basically, in order to properly absorb water into the cell, you need the right balance of electrolytes. And that balance is 2 potassium for every 1 sodium. That is a 2-to-1 ratio, potassium to sodium. But if you look at most electrolyte products on the market these days, it's just a bunch of sodium. Maybe there's a little bit of potassium or magnesium or other stuff, but for the most part, it's a bunch of sodium. That's why they taste so salty. And I'm not going to name names here, okay? You can look at whatever products you're interested in or have and just look at the numbers. But I got a little story here. Story time. So a couple of months back, I was at work and I started to feel in my right calf the feeling just before, like, you get a Charlie horse. What a weird phrase, Charlie horse. But it's like a leg cramp. Like, oh my God, my gastrocnemius or soleus muscle. Yeah, you want to get fancy? Like they're going to cramp. And it felt almost like the muscle was in a fist. And I'm like, what's going on here? Okay. Trying to stretch it out. It's not going away. I get home. I take the electrolytes that I had there, which was liquid IV. I said I wasn't going to name names, but that's the one I had. And I have magnesium powder. I took some of that. Wasn't helping. I used my massage gun on it. It certainly made it feel better while I was using it, but then I took a couple of steps and the feeling was still there. I stretched it. I dug out some trigger points. I drank a ton of water. And it just wasn't going away. And 3 days later, I'm still feeling this grip in my calf. And I'm like, what's going on here? So my next thought was to contact my lovely acupuncturist friend. Shout out to you, Katie. And I asked her if there was some kind of meridian that goes through this area. And she had said, well, yeah, that's the kidney bladder meridian. And she recommended that I take electrolytes, that I'm probably a little funky imbalanced in my kidneys, And she recommended this particular product that had been really helpful for her in dealing with her post-COVID syndrome. And she's got a few other things going on. And because of that, she can't have any fake sweeteners or chemical additives. She has to have a very clean diet. So these are the electrolytes that she uses. The brand is Fast Light. That is Lyte, like the end of electrolyte. And if you look up this product online, you will see they spend most of the money on the product and not on the branding. For some reason, the lettering is in yellow, but that's it, Fast Light. And I'm like, sign me up, yes. I order it. It comes later that day. You know, God bless Amazon sometimes. And I got it. I drink it. Within 10 minutes, the feeling went away. That grip, that clenched fist in my calf became a nice open hand, and it just let go. And I was like, what? What? Listen, when something works so distinctly and quickly, I'm going to shout it from the rooftops. I'm going to shout it from here in my room into my microphone to get to all of you, because this was a life-changing discovery for me. And I've been taking it every day since. And honestly, like, I've been pushing it with all my workouts. I've been lifting more, and I am not feeling the muscle discomfort that I had been feeling prior to taking these electrolytes. And I just do it once in the morning. I'll fill up my water bottle. I'll throw in a scoop of these electrolytes. It's just like a bag that comes with this little scooper. It's a 240-day supply. It has no flavor. It's just a little salty, very mild. So I'll do a splash of lemon juice and whatever juice is in my fridge to give it a little flavor. And I drink that in the morning, and then otherwise normal water. And I don't know, it's worked for me. I've recommended it to a lot of my patients that have chronic muscle tightness, and everyone is reporting back positive things. So that also is on the Products I Love page, and I'm happy to share it with you guys. That was a tangent of tangents, but it had to be said, so we're doing it all here. This is all about how I am healing myself in this acute situation, but it's also the bigger picture of how I've healed myself in my daily life from other things that I've had going on. We'll get back to that, but what else did I have to say here about the cold?
I'm having Manuka honey.
All right, what's the deal with Manuka honey? Why is it so much more expensive than all of the other honey? Well, as we must know, all products are not created equal, especially in our modern day grocery stores. So Manuka honey, and I'm reading this right now from clevelandclinic.org, a reputable website. Manuka honey has antibacterial, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, and antioxidant properties. It's anti-everything you don't want. It gets its antibacterial effects from an active ingredient called methyl glyoxal, MGO, and a whole bunch more science. But basically, it's a honey that's worth the money. So every time I do an oregano oil shot, I then have a little spoonful of the Manuka honey to wash it down, and it's a nice flavor note to end that experience. Talk about a nice note to end that experience. Well, this ain't over yet. Don't you worry. All right, what else have I been doing? I've been having kimchi. Fermented foods feed those good bacteria in the gut. Kimchi, hot tea, broccoli, sprouts. Always broccoli sprouts. If you didn't know, broccoli sprouts contain 40 to 50 times the nutrients that is in just a regular stalk of broccoli. When it's in the sprout form, it's like a live, real, living food. It has a higher frequency vibration. I don't know, just it sounds right to me. So I always have broccoli sprouts with my meals. I have been putting it on top of my soup that I made. You know, something that I did not have that I normally would, I just didn't get to it with all this other stuff. But apple cider vinegar is like touted to be just a good for everything substance. You can do it in shots or combine it with other drinks you're doing. They call it a panacea. A panacea means something that is just good for everything, like water or exercise. I have exercised. I made sure to get outside and get some cardio in, get the blood circulating. I'm doing a lot of things, and saved the best for last. Most importantly, Yesterday, I went to go see my chiropractor, Dr. Scott, who really helped me out. Besides the usual adjustment where he made sure I was in parasympathetic healing mode, which is very important for getting better, and making sure my structure was all moving well. He reminded me of some really important things, such as I should be rubbing the K27 acupuncture points. What is that? So K27 stands for kidney 27, and it is a point right below our clavicle. Okay, I just looked this up for some more specific information. So K27, also known as the elegant mansion point, ooh, who knew, is located just below the collarbone and is the last point on the kidney meridian. It is used in acupressure to release respiratory issues, chest tightness, and emotional concerns like anxiety, while also boosting the immune system. Ah, very important and useful point to know. Good point. And if you would like to locate these points on yourself to either preventively boost your immune system, or if you're feeling something and you want to help yourself, I would recommend look up online K27 acupuncture point under the images just to get a visual. But I'll describe it for you here. Basically, you feel your collarbone or your clavicle. You've got one on each side, and each clavicle meets at a bone in the middle called the manubrium. It's the upper part of your sternum. So at this little soft area right below the clavicle and right outside that manubrium, that's K27. And if you put some light pressure onto that, it might be a little tender. And as I often like to say, tender marks the spot. Generally, things in the body shouldn't be tender unless there's something going on there. So if it's tender, don't be overly concerned. Just don't press too hard. With a nice light pressure in circular motions, work on releasing that point and bringing some energy circulation there. Sure, let's go with that. I've been hitting that point now since he mentioned it, and I do feel improvement. Now, something else that he did after doing my adjustment, he goes above and beyond, and he works out some of the pressure in my forehead and around my sinuses. And he reminded me, like, oh, yeah, I can touch my own face. So when I got home, I oiled my face up with my favorite facial oil, which is sea buckthorn oil, actually. Ever heard of that? A friend of mine recommended it to me, and I've been using it for years. It is the only facial skincare product that I use. It is called oil cleansing. It goes on the idea that like attracts like. So if you're using oil on your face, it's pulling unwanted oil off your face. I don't know, but my skin seems to look pretty good, and this is all that I use. In any case, it smells nice. It feels really smooth, unlike my voice, and it's a great base for then to use a gua sha tool. And what is a gua sha tool, if you're not familiar? It is, I believe, a Chinese practice that we have adopted here. It's pretty popular now. A gua sha stone, I just looked it up. A gua sha stone, also sometimes referred to as a jade scraper. It's usually made out of jade stone, but I think at this point it might be other substances. But it is a flat stone that has different edges that will be good for different parts of the face. You can also use it on other parts of the body, but people use it for lymphatic drainage, to depuff the face, to boost circulation, and sometimes even for like cosmetic purposes to smooth facial lines. But most definitely, just very practically, it's using a hard edge tool that's smooth to scrape lightly along your face in different directions that can help clear and drain the sinuses. So Dr. Scott reminded me, like, oh yeah, I should be doing that. I'm all congested. So I used my gua sha tool. It felt amazing just to apply pressure and move it along the facial areas where the sinuses are. And then I also have this little acupressure facial tool. It's like a little stainless steel like pen, and there's one bigger rounded tip and then a smaller tip, and I like to use the bigger rounded tip, and you can get into these little nooks in the face and around the nose and above the eyebrow in the superciliary arches, the superciliary notch. That's a really good one. So there are videos online galore on different techniques and methods to get into these areas and use these tools, but I used all of those resources that were at my disposal. And once I started doing these things, I didn't feel the need to take Advil or a nasal decongestant to clear the discomfort because I was doing natural things that was helping that process along in a real way, not just covering up symptoms. I'm going to jump into a short recording that I did yesterday when my voice was really scratchy, just because there's a little funny bit in it and it feels worthwhile to share. But then we're going to jump into some other stuff. It's going to get real. Does my voice sound different? It sure does. You know, I'm processing whatever hit my system. You gotta get it out, and it's working its way out. I've been working my way out of you, babe. Wow, what a weak sounding singing voice. But you know what? That was from the perspective of the bacteria that is working its way out of me. And yes, it's getting weaker as I'm getting stronger. And in case you're wondering, how do I know it's bacterial? Well, Dr. Scott muscle tested me. He has a bunch of different techniques in his 45 years of practice, and one of them is called total body modification, or TBM. And in this, he learned a sequence of muscle testing to see what's going on if someone's sick. And it tested positive for bacterial as opposed to viral or parasite or fungal or some other scary thing. So it's a bacterial infection. And I want to really make this point here. Okay, it says this is important foundational philosophy for understanding health in the body. There is no big bad bacteria that is so scary that it could take down a healthy, strong human. The only reason that I succumb to whatever bacteria this is because I weakened my immune system by getting run down by doing all the things that I did. So my first chiropractor, Dr. Wendell, he said to me, and I'll never forget this because I had been sick and I was supposed to go see him. And I asked him, is it okay if I come in? Because usually if you're sick, someone doesn't want you to come. But he was like, yes, of course, come. This is the most important time to come so that we can help boost your immune system and your health. And he was like, Mackenzie, that's my full name, by the way. It's not the seed, it's the soil. And I'm like, what? And then, I had to think about it. So it's not the bacteria or the virus or whatever little bug pathogen that it is the soil, the inner terrain of your immune system, the whole health of your body that will determine if you get sick or not. In the quote unquote flu season, or when something's going around, or even, dare I mention, COVID, what determined who got sick and who didn't? It wasn't the bug itself, the pathogen itself. It was the strength of that person's immune system. And, we'll hear all sorts of stories like, no, this person, they took the best care of themselves. They did all the things. But, you never really know what's going on with someone. And again, maybe they're doing all of the healthy things, taking the supplements, exercising, eating well, but maybe they're harboring a whole lot of negative energy, negative emotions in them that they're not dealing with. And that itself can be weakening their immune system. This is one of the rules that I live by. It's not the seed, it's the soil. And as long as we tend to the soil of our garden, we got nothing to worry about here, people. So I've been tending to my soil, and in this episode, I'm telling you how. So especially once I knew it was bacterial, I'm like, okay. When I got home, I drew a bath, and I made it really, really hot. And basically, my intention was to cook myself. I'm like, all right, it's going to get hot in here. We got some bacteria. Well, you know what? I can withstand the heat, but it can't. Oh, that's right. Because you know what? When we get a fever, okay, a lot of people are afraid of fever. They get all freaked out. They immediately go to Tylenol or something else to drop the fever. Well, let me tell you, a fever is your body's way, a healthy way of trying to save you, because your body can tolerate up to a certain temperature. Obviously, we don't want a high fever over 105, 104. Maybe that's getting crazy. But a low grade fever like 101, 100, that's okay, because your body is doing its natural mechanism to heat itself up to kill whatever pathogen is in you. Because most bacteria or viruses or fungi, it can't live at that temperature. So I heated it up. And you know what? I was sweating. I was uncomfortable, but I dealt with it. I sucked it up. And you know what? I woke up today feeling significantly better. So, this brings me to a big picture idea that I want to bring to you, because this episode really is all about immunity and building a strong body. And I just mentioned the phrase flu season, and that triggered a thought in me that I must follow through. So, the quote unquote flu season. What is this actually? It's important to get behind the psychology of these things, or the psychology of a phrase like, quote unquote, something's going around. When we expect that a certain time of year is going to bring sickness, it is much more likely that it's going to happen. But in actuality, on the physical plane, there are some things that are happening that do bring about sickness during these times. It's not just the belief, though the belief is not helping. So first, we'll cover flu season. This usually is happening in the wintertime, just after the holidays, around January. And I was once at a Tony Robbins seminar some years back.
Yes, I did walk on the hot coals, and no, I did not get burned.
And it was a 3-day seminar, and Tony Robbins took an entire day of those 3 days just to talk about physical health and building as strong a body as possible. And I love that, because what more of a point to make all of your dreams come true and manifest the life that you imagine? You have to have a strong, healthy body. So he has some guy on stage talking about all of this, and he brings up flu season. And he says it really should be called decreased immunity season, because think about what's happening here. It's right after the holidays. What do the holidays bring? Well, lots of parties, lots of overindulgence in sugar. Everyone's bringing around the desserts and the cookies and the cakes. And everyone is often drinking at these parties. Maybe not everyone, but a lot of people are drinking more alcohol at every one of these parties. And we're staying up late. We are busy and stressed out trying to get presents for everybody to live up to the standard of what this season has become. And all of this going on, all of this busyness will often also mean we're not taking as much time to take care of ourselves, to eat our healthy foods, and to exercise, and to relax and meditate and do all of the things we need to do to feel balanced. And on top of all that, it's colder, we're inside more, we're not getting the vitamin D. And do I need to go on? Our resistance gets lowered, and then we catch something. It's not like there's something new going around. It's just our resistance, our body's defenses got weakened, and then the walls get breached. So what are we going to do about that this year? I'm talking about this now, so maybe we can all do things differently. All right. Now, in terms of this time of year, which I'm doing this now at the end of September, and I got sick, and I'm telling people, because I'm like, no, I can't hang out. I got a cold. And a few people have said to me, well, this time of year, people often do get sick. And yeah, like I know someone else that got sick. And there's something about this time of year as well. The beginning of the school year, people are getting sick. What's happening now? Well, I have information for you. we are about to get pretty sciencey here, but I'm also going to try to keep this really simple. It has to do with our vitamin D exposure and its relationship to calcium. So apparently calcium is very important for many functions in the body, as is vitamin D, as is probably everything. But calcium, while it has a role in strong bones and all that, it also has a role in regulating our immune system and particular cells of the immune system. To read a direct quote from an article from the NYU Langone Health website, we found that calcium signals play a vital role in keeping the immune system finely balanced, ramping responses up and down at the appropriate time. So it's established calcium is very important for the immune system. We also know that calcium is important for vitamin D absorption and vice versa. Vitamin D is important for calcium absorption. They need each other. Isn't that cute? And that's often why you'll find that those two things are combined in various supplement products. So, why is this all important for the immune system? Well, in the summertime, when the weather is fine and we're getting all of that sweet, warm sunshine, we are taking calcium from our bloodstream in order to absorb all of that vitamin D into our cells. The body doesn't want to take calcium from the bones. That would be a really bad idea. So it's taking it from the cellular blood supply. And that decreases cellular immunity because now it doesn't have that calcium to help regulate all the signals of ramp up, ramp down. And so, end of summer, we're all going back to school. We're picking up all of our busy activities. We're surrounded by more people. This means decreased resistance and increased exposure, and we get sick, or some people get sick. And I don't even like saying it, but I'm just talking about the patterns and the trends here. People get sick. And we don't have to. We can be proactive about it and prevent it. This is a really good time to start ramping up the calcium-rich foods, which go well beyond dairy products because those actually aren't the richest sources. You can have sardines, salmon, love it, leafy greens like kale and collard greens, Swiss chard, and certain nuts and seeds. And I'm sure there's a ton of calcium in those athletic greens that I mentioned earlier. You can also get supplements. I would just recommend that you get a whole food-based supplement, not a synthetic one that was all derived from a lab, because quite frankly, your body doesn't really know what to do with all that, and you're probably going to pee most of it out. They call that expensive urine. So if you're going to get a product, make sure to get a good one that will be worth the money. All right, so I've taken a lot of time here to talk about all of the things that we can do to boost our health, as well as all of the things that can happen in our lives to knock down our health. And it's important to understand what all of these things are so that we can be awesome players at the game of life. You know, what's going to take away health points and what we can do to regain health points. Yeah. And I suppose the final aspect of that I haven't mentioned, but it's been in the back of my mind, is what I now call the electrobiochemical soup. Doesn't that sound delicious? This is the situation, the atmosphere and environment that we are all living in. And everything is frequency. And we are living in a world where there are frequencies happening all around us and within us, and we get affected by the environment that we're in. So something that I was considering when I started to feel ill last Wednesday night was, you know what? The city, because I work in Manhattan and in Midtown Manhattan, and there was definitely a very chaotic energy in Manhattan that day, that evening, when I started to feel this ickiness in my throat. I don't want to get into all the awfulness of it, but there was a bad accident. And on top of it, it was UN week. And so insane traffic, roads blockaded, and just very hyped up, angsty energy in the city. And whenever I'm going to Manhattan, I'm trying to bring the peace, love, calm energy. But listen, I'm only human, and I was already tired. I was trying to do my work and get the humans adjusted and, get some notes done. And I succumbed. So there is a lot to consider, and all the more reason to make ourselves as physically, mentally, emotionally strong as possible so we can withstand all of these forces. Because let me be clear here, there is no pathogen, no bacteria, virus, fungi, mold toxin, parasite, etc., that can take down a healthy, happy, strong human. We are at the peak of the evolutionary chain. Our bodies have been evolving for millions of years in this earth environment to be resilient against all these little guys. Okay? So where focus goes, energy flows. And from this point forward, I want our focus to be on just how incredible our bodies are. And I actually have a really fun story to demonstrate a good point here. The universe works in funny ways, sometimes very literally funny. And I have a funny story for you. Yes, get excited. I love a funny story. So, there are these two rabbits, these sweet bunny rabbits that live in my backyard. They belong to my downstairs neighbor, and they live in this large cage, that hutch thing. And most of my mornings begin with obviously my green drink, then coffee. And while I'm enjoying one or the other of these delights, I step outside and I greet the bunnies, and I'll give them celery or carrots, and I'll pet them. And they love the pets, because they're stuck in that cage all day, and it breaks my heart a little bit, and it makes my heart to give them love and have them appreciate it so much like I see them do. So I'm going to backpedal this story a little bit to a couple of weeks ago, because now there are two stories to share here. Did I say hair here? No. Okay. I actually, for a time, had been calling these rabbits Bunny and Hare. But then I realized I think they're both males. So then naturally, I started calling them Rabbit and Costello. Yes. But in actuality, I just call them Bunny. We all have our pet names. So these two are so sweet, and occasionally the downstairs neighbors will let them out of the hutch and roam around freely in the backyard, which always gives me joy to see them be free. And there was an evening a couple of weeks back where, I don't know, something must have happened. Maybe they got distracted. Maybe they couldn't get them, but they didn't get them back in the hutch. So I noticed that they were just freely hopping around, and I'm like, okay, I didn't know what to do, but they're not my rabbits. And then the next morning, I saw one still out hopping around, and the other one was nowhere to be found. And I thought, uh-oh, that's not good. And of course, my mind immediately goes to either he escaped or an animal got him. I've heard there are coyotes and whatnot in my area. So I was very nervous for the little guy. And the other one was still hopping around outside freely, but I could tell he looked a little subdued and concerned. At least, am I anthropomorphizing him? It felt like he was. And I texted the owner. I let him know. He said he knew. And it was a couple of days like this. And they got the other one back in the hutch. But now he was alone. And I felt really sorry. And it really felt like that was it. This was how it was going to be. I accepted that sometimes things in life are sad. And I had obviously told all my friends about it, and processing it. And the next morning, I wake up to a text from my friend who is local here and knows the people and situation, and she follows the local town Facebook page. And I wake up to a message from her with a link to the Facebook page saying, they found him. And I'm like, what? And I click the link, and it is a picture of Mr. Costello. He's got his black mustache, very identifiable. And someone snapped a picture of him in the high school field, which is right next door. And they were keeping him safe, and we were able to reunite these two bunnies. And oh my goodness, what a beautiful miracle story. And what an example of the blessings that social media can be. I think it gets a lot of bad press, bad vibes that, people hate on it. But really, like, it's just another resource. It's another tool that we can use in a beautiful way. Everything is a tool, and it all depends on how you use it. So I really wanted to share this very happy story with you because it really raised my vibration, and I hope it raises yours too. Now, this brings me to today and the very appropriate timing for this next story. So I was in the middle of working on this episode when a friend of mine was saying that she was going for a walk down by the river to catch the sunset. And I thought, yes, I'm going to go meet her there. I'm going to take a break, clear my mind and energy, and see my friend. I love her. So I gather my things and I head out the back door, which is where the bunnies are. And I catch Mr. Groundhog in the bunny hutch. Okay, now I have caught him now a couple of times sneaking his little face in there to steal their carrots. And I was like, oh no. And I try reinforcing the wiring, but apparently not enough because he managed to get his entire body into the hutch. And he was able to squeeze his way in, but you can bet he was not able to squeeze his way out. Sometimes in life we get into these situations. So I am witnessing this situation and him frantically trying to find his way out. And all I can think is I have to deal with this right now. I can't try to find the owner. I don't know where they are. We have these animals chaotically in there. I don't want the bunnies to get hurt. And so I obviously get my phone out to hit record you got to capture the shenanigans, and they weren't going anywhere. Oh, you can bet this is all on footage. So I then get over to the cage and I start moving the bricks that block the hole, and I try to create enough of an opening for him to get out. All the while trying to shoo my bunny friend to the side, saying, no, not you getting out. We need to get the groundhog out. And the groundhog, who is afraid, he squeezes back into the little wooded part of the hutch. And then I'm like, no, not in, out. And so then I step away so he doesn't feel my presence there, because obviously I was scaring him. And in that time, of course, one of the rabbits jumps out and escapes into the backyard. Oh no, what did I do? And I had to stick with the plan though. Groundhog had to get out, which he eventually did find his way out. It was really cute actually. And then I go bunny hunting because I can't be responsible for losing another rabbit. This was actually the other bunny that wasn't lost. So, he and I were buds at this point. So I thought, all right, he knows me. We'll be cool. But rabbits behave very differently in the cage versus out of the cage. And once they're out, they're like, oh no, you're not catching me. So now I'm running all around my backyard after this rabbit. And eventually I finally do get a hold of him, and it seemed all right. But when I tried to get him back into the hutch, he struggled a bit, and I got a pretty nasty looking scratch on my left arm. So what's the point of all this? Well, besides the point that it's pretty funny, and life can be funny sometimes, and unexpected things happen, as well as I posted this footage on my Instagram page because I like to share the funny, and someone actually told me that today happens to be International Rabbit Day. I kid you not. You can't make this stuff up. It's International Rabbit Day, and I had a very rabbity day. So I also really felt the need to share this rabbit story with you. But third and most importantly, I got a nasty scratch on my arm. And side note on that, because based on this episode, you might be thinking Mac is a crunchy granola hippie and she just let that scratch be and let her body and its power heal her. Well, listen, I'm not, taking unnecessary risks with myself. And I did consider these rabbits aren't the cleanest. Let me go and put some isopropyl alcohol on it and some neosporin just in case. I don't want to add to the stress of my body. I don't need to be getting more bacterial infection situation. We live in this modern world where we have all of these medicines and pharmaceuticals, and we need to take measured decisions when we choose to use them. I think there is a time and a place. I know there is a time and a place for them. And thank goodness for them. They're not the enemy. But I also think that there are many natural options that we can try before we jump to a drug. All right, what was I saying? The title of this episode is Chiropractor Heal Thyself. And this is a perfect opportunity to talk about something that I like to think about sometimes. When we get a cut or abrasion on our skin, we have a visual example happening right before our eyes of how our body heals. There's no part of me that doubts that this cut will heal and that in, I don't know, a week to 2 weeks' time, this will be gone. Or I don't know, maybe it'll be a really badass scar, but I think it will be gone. And that process of healing is happening all the time inside our body. We just can't see it, but it's always happening. For any malady and condition, your body wants to be healthy and will always be working toward your greatest health and healing. And we can certainly do many, many things, as I've listed in this episode, to help it along. And we can also do a bunch of things to slow it down. And that might lead to other outcomes of which we will not discuss here because you, my lovely listener, are not of the type to do such things. No, you are here to make your body as strong, resilient, and powerful as possible. That's why you're listening right now, because you rock. You're amazing. All right? I love you. And I really do appreciate you listening. If you've made it to the end of this episode, despite me and my scratchy voice, I give you such heartfelt thanks for being here with me. And I really hope that you learned some useful things in this episode that can help you in your own life or in the lives of those that you care about. And I suppose while we are on this pouring out of gratitude, I lastly want to come to my final conclusion on what being sick makes me reflect on. There is a gift in everything that life brings to us. And I know for myself, every time I get sick, I become so much more grateful for my health. Every time I get congested, I think, wow, I'm so grateful when my nose is always clear and I can breathe easily. When my voice gets scratchy like this, I think, wow, I am so blessed when my voice is all clear and I could sing and it can sound nice. What a gift I've been given. When we have our energy levels taken away and we feel fatigue, we can think, wow, when I am normal, I feel so good just at my baseline. In our day-to-day life, when everything is all good and status quo and we're going at our business, we can forget to take the time to feel grateful for these most basic of functions, to have a head that is clear without headache. Sometimes it's the absence of something that is the thing to be grateful for. So let us take a moment of gratitude for our bodies and the amazing functions that it does for us every day, constantly, never ending forever until we're ready to move on to the next big thing. A big thanks to our heart always beating, our lungs always breathing, our stomach and digestive organs, our immune system, our lymphocytes, our monocytes, our neutrophils and eosinophils, our blood that fills our arteries and veins, our muscles that keep it all pumping and that move us and groove us, our brains that is operating this whole magical orchestration. Wow. What an incredible thing we are. Very cool. Very cool, my friend. So I'm happy to be human. I'm happy you're a human. Let's be the harmonic humans that we can be. And just always remember to be grateful, because that energy of gratitude changes everything. We might feel a little down, a little low, but all it takes is some thought work of, oh, but you know, my heart's beating. I can breathe. Oh, life is good. It's the simple things, always. Well, my friend, let's take a breath in gratitude for the oxygen in our lungs and this whole beautiful organic being that we are. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. I am sending you all the love, all the light, and all the peace. It's already all there within you. Lovely listener, until the next time, take good care.